Let me welcome you to the Landscape Finance Lab, and we want to give you a bit of an introduction to what we're doing and how you can be involved. So the lab comes out of a whole lot of work that's been done over the last few years in WWF on landscapes. I think the global community is starting to recognise that landscapes are a way to address a whole series of problems. In the case of the World Economic Forum in Davos last year, the world leaders identified sustainable landscapes and healthy diets as the two key ways to address food security. But we're seeing also in the world of climate change that landscape solutions are a key. We're seeing that corporates are committing to deforestation-free solutions at landscape scale, and a whole range of other ways in which landscapes are becoming important ways of organising ourselves in the world. WWF has supported landscapes for many years because we see this as a way to look after nature at a much greater scale than we've done in the past. It brings together many people and many solutions, many organisations. It builds synergies, it sorts out conflicts, and it averts market failures. And you can see there some of the ways in which landscape approaches are being applied in all sorts of areas of human endeavour, in food and water and forests, oceans, energy, and so forth. There's a whole range of different types of landscape approaches, and that's been part of the problem over the years, that there've been all sorts of different approaches with different terminologies and different ways of going about things. And yet really underneath that has been a common set of steps and intentions. How do we bring those together? WWF worked on that a couple of years ago with a whole team of organisations to produce the Little Sustainable Landscapes book, which brought together definitions, clarified, came up with a clear definition of sustainable landscapes. These are landscapes that meet the sustainable development and climate goals. Quite a simple definition. So a sustainable landscape is one that's helping to achieve the global goals and helping to achieve the Paris Climate Agreement. In putting that book together, we also looked at how do you get to that point? How do you get to sustainable landscapes? And from analysing the range of different types of landscape approaches, catchment management, coastal zone management, and so forth, we proposed a 5-step methodology for achieving integrated landscape management. And you can read more about that in the book. I won't go into the details of it here. But that's the theory of landscapes, and we're applying that theory in practice now across the world in a whole range of different landscapes. And that's the work of the lab, is to structure landscape programs, but also to access some of the enormous potential financing that's starting to flow as a result of the Paris Agreement and the SDG agreements. If you look at the public sector, in Paris alone, there was $20 to $30 billion worth of new funds discussed that help to achieve climate goals and SDGs. That's dwarfed by the amount of money that's now flowing in the private sector. Just last year, the Climate Bonds Initiative identified that there'd been $81 billion worth of new green bond issuances in 2016. And these are being invested into climate-friendly infrastructure, green energy, and a whole range of other things. What they're not being invested in yet is the land sector, and that's an area that will grow very rapidly. And so, another reason for developing our experience around landscape and landscape approaches, because these can help to attract large-scale financing for land use actions. And then there's the impact sector. $16 billion was allocated to impact investment in 2015, and that's growing quite rapidly. So the lab works on three things: structuring high quality landscape programs in the biodiversity priority places where WWF focuses, the 35 priority places. We focus on accessing innovative financing at scale and learning as we go. This is very new work. So sharing the learnings, building capacity, and measuring our impact as we build these landscape programs. The lab is set up under the forest practice, but specifically to support all of the practices in WWF, oceans, wildlife, these. And it works with the cross-cutting practices, finance, governance, and markets. So it's really a cross-WWF initiative. So let me give you an impression of some of the landscapes where we're working and helping local field officers. Here's a map of most of those landscapes that are now in development, some more advanced than others, such as the Maindombe program, which has been operating for 6 years and is a bit of an inspiration for the work that we're trying to do. This comes out of work on jurisdictional RED, on the Forest and Climate Initiative of the United Nations Climate Agreement. It's a program in the Democratic Republic of Congo that's trying to save an area the size of Austria and Switzerland combined. Really exciting stuff. The team there have been putting this together to protect a large part of the range of the bonobo chimp. And last year it received $170 million worth of financing from the World Bank. Contracting is happening this year. And it's really an example of a new way of thinking about conservation. This is the largest conservation project in Africa at the moment. And what it does is bring together a whole range of different activities: work with protected areas, better forest management, agriculture, community governance of forests, and uses those to reduce emissions and improve livelihoods. Very exciting program. So we're using the lessons from that to develop other programs through the lab. And one of the things that we didn't do so well in this program was include the private sector. That's what we're trying to do now in Sumatra with WWF Indonesia and Michelin Tire Company. This area through the center of Sumatra is critical tiger habitat. It's one of the 13 tiger landscapes and one of the most threatened. And to the south of it is a large rubber plantation owned by Michelin. So they want to make sure that that's wildlife friendly, that nothing happens to the rainforest where the tigers live. But they also are prepared to underplant the rubber trees with native species, and that'll allows the wildlife to come back and provides prey for tigers. And that's set within a larger program of landscape management with the government of Jambi province and other stakeholders. That's a massive program if it gets approved, $276 million, and it includes an $80 million loan to Michelin for this wildlife-friendly rubber. So the idea there from Michelin's side is that it's actually commercially viable to produce rubber in a more environmentally friendly way and to contribute to this larger landscape program. We're doing something similar in the eastern plains of Cambodia with Conservation International, the government of Cambodia and others. These forests are the last remaining large forests of Cambodia under significant threat, but if that threat can be averted, then it's possible over time to bring tigers back into this landscape, which once had tigers, but they became extinct only a few short years ago. And that's a $100 million program over quite a large area. In the Virunga Mountains of DRC, we've started a program to protect the areas outside of the Virunga National Park. That's quite well protected, although under some pressure, but it's really the area of North Kivu province outside of the park, this area here, that's still under very, very intense threat. The forest is disappearing quite rapidly, and there's a loss of real economic opportunities for green development. So we're building a green economy program with the government and other stakeholders there that will eventually help take the pressure off the gorillas and other wildlife, but really help the economy of that province. There's another program where we're kicking off with our teams in Gabon, Cameroon, and the Republic of Congo to protect a massive area of rainforest, probably the most important area in Africa for lowland gorillas and forest elephants. And there's already $283 million worth of investment going into these two areas in Cameroon and Republic of Congo for red work, for forest and climate work. So we're working with the people who are putting that together to make sure that some of that investment goes to creating corridors for wildlife between protected areas and to improve forest management. In the mountains of Nepal, WWF Nepal is working with the Mountain Institute, who are supporting 15,000 smallholder farmers to produce medicinal and aromatic plants from these middle forests, middle-level forests. And companies like the Body Shop and Avida are buying these products. So can this be scaled up? Can it be used to protect the forests? These are all questions that we're starting to answer with Traffic, the wildlife trade organisation, in the next few months. And then in Vietnam, we're working with IKEA to look at how to create FSC timber sourcing across entire provinces. There's an emission reductions program already operating there that the government has initiated that'll prevent deforestation from large parts of the forest in this area. But can that be reinforced by working with large purchasers like IKEA to create some market pull for better forest products? That's a key program that we've just begun. And then working with the world's largest cocoa trader, Barry Callebaut, a Swiss-based company. They've committed very bravely to make sure that all of their cocoa is emission neutral, deforestation free, and restoration positive. How do they achieve that? That's something we'll be looking at with them, and doing it at a landscape scale, because it's not possible to really achieve those results if you're working only at the level of the individual farm. You can't measure carbon efficiently, you can't build restoration in a way that's biologically sensible, and it'll be very hard to achieve emission reduction and deforestation free results that can be validated. So working at the landscape scale changes that picture. So there's some examples. The theory of this is explained in this diagram. With an initial investment from WWF of maybe 100, 200,000, we can work with stakeholders in a landscape to prepare an initial design for how they're going to protect and sustainably use their landscape. That design then goes to one of the many different climate financiers or green climate fund, land degradation neutrality fund, and others. If they like it, they'll generally allocate between $500,000 and $1.5 million for further design, which might take a year or so. And then if that's successful, it'll trigger between $50 and $250 million worth of investment over a 10-year period. So this is a complete step change, an order of magnitude, perhaps 2 orders of magnitude larger funding than is standard in that WWF is used to. But if we do this initial design with the private sector and with financiers, it's possible also to bring in private sector investment, and that's where it gets very interesting. And that whole process takes maybe 6 to 12 months for the concept phase, and then 1 to 3 years for the design phase, depending on the circumstances. So that's a quick look at the process for landscape program development and some of the examples we have underway. As I said, there's a second element to what the Landscape Finance Lab does, and that's innovative finance. We have a couple of experiments there. In the public sector, we're working with our European Policy Office in Brussels and the European Union to develop a funding window for sustainable landscapes and landscape learning. That'll be about $15 million, but it'll help to pay for initial work in a number of landscapes, learning from work that's already happening in other landscapes and building a community across Africa that can do these sorts of landscape programs. And we're doing that with UNEP, IUCN and Oxfam, so we're all learning from each other in that process once it gets underway. An exciting new initiative is to work with a private financier to design a fund from scratch. The Musanga Fund is being initiated by a company in Switzerland, Clamondial, and it'll support sustainable forestry and agriculture across East and Central Africa. So that fits very well with the landscape work we're doing in Africa. And then we're honestly making this up as we go along. There's a lot we've learned so far, but there's an enormous amount that we still need to learn to make these landscape programs work. So we have a program on learning and impact, which is capturing a set of lessons, turning them into publications. The little sustainable landscape book we've mentioned, the landscape elements is a crystallization of the steps in integrated management of landscapes and some indicators and tools for that. We're producing reports on business and sustainable landscapes, and conservation finance and others are coming. And then in October or November in the Mekong this year, we'll be having the first of the landscape learning tours, in this case with the New Generations Plantations and Eco-Agriculture Partners. And then we welcome you all to join the Landscape Lab platform. This is a space where you can incubate your landscape ideas, so put your proposals for landscape programs up and go through a set of steps to build those and get financing for them and have them submitted to donors. But also join the community and get help in that process, share lessons, see what other people are doing and so forth. So we'd welcome you very much to join with us. Click the link that's there in the PowerPoint and participate in that. And so one further initiative we're developing is with the World Economic Forum to launch a challenge, what's called the 100 Sustainable Landscapes Challenge, at the next Davos meeting in January 2018. This will bring together a range of different organizations and start initially with a small number of landscapes, maybe 10, 20 landscapes, where we can learn what's worked and what hasn't worked, but then develop some principles and processes where together we can help other landscapes to move along towards sustainability, and aim for 100 landscapes in this platform that are sharing lessons and helping each other to build, with the idea that ultimately it only takes about 1,000 landscapes to cover the entire world, all of the land and seas of the planet. If we had 1,000 sustainable landscapes, we would have a sustainable planet. So that's an exciting one that's just kicking off now. It's in the design phase. So there's a bit of an introduction to the Landscape Finance Lab. We'd love to have you on board with us. Do join the lab platform, as I mentioned. Come and help the teams on the ground to build these landscapes. Technical support is essential, and you know, they can do with help in all sorts of ways, from finance, communications, working with companies, and the actual landscape program designs. Talk to with the companies and other partners that you're already working with about landscape solutions. We're happy to back you up in any of those discussions. And one of the key issues is getting that initial $100,000 to $200,000 for landscape designs. It's a good return on income. If we can get that 100,000, we can deliver $100 million into each of these landscapes, and that will change the game forever. So any help that you can provide in that will really be very well, energy very well spent. So thank you very much. I'm Paul Chatterton of the Landscape Finance Lab, and we look forward to working with you to support sustainable landscapes.